Good morning. I'm Vince. It's 7:17. This is the GoldFix. The title today, tentatively, is World War III has started. We'll get to that in a minute, but you can see the markets currently on the screen. The dollar is down 2. Bond yields are slightly lower, so bonds are a little bit stronger. Stocks are flat, down 1 to 2 handles. The VIX is unchanged. Gold is up $2. Silver is down 8 cents and getting a little bit stronger. WTI is down 40 cents. Natural gas is up 2. Bitcoin's up 3.25. Ethereum is trailing, but it's still up slightly positive, up 2. Grains are down. Soybean and corn are lower, I should say. Copper is dead in the water, unchanged offer. Platinum, palladium down about 50 basis points on average. Nothing really to make out of today's behavior, except today's behavior is likely a continuation or a breather from yesterday. So yesterday is what it was all about. I'm going to show you on a screen. We'll just go to the daily to make it a little bit, black and white here. All right, so you had the QRA yesterday, Yellen's QRA. Yellen's QRA was supposed to be X, 800, depending on how you look at it. But anyway, it came in lower in terms of their quarterly borrowing than was expected. And that is a perception that creates a perception that there's less borrowing than currently needed. Therefore, that's good for stocks because there's less deficit. It's good for bonds because there's less deficit. It's bad for gold because less deficit, less worry, less need to own gold. It is, however, good for silver because silver is being treated economically more than preciously of late. So you have a divergence in the precious metals. Oil, you would think it would be bullish for oil. However, oil is going to react to other things more dominantly now. So oil had a volatile day and ended up finishing lower. Gold should have sold off, but silver just dragged its ass higher yesterday. Silver was just really strong. We'll put that up. All right. This is silver yesterday, up almost 2%, and it took gold with it. Okay, gold did not want to go up yesterday. In fact, if you look at these days here, there's gold right on the edge of this whole, whatever you want to call this, wick thing here. And here's silver going back over the same time frame, well above its similar area. So silver is in the process of catching up to gold. I'll put up the gold-silver ratio to see what I mean. This was the gold-silver ratio, like at its worst, and since then it's been working down. The market is unwinding its economic bearishness, which is bullish for silver, which is bearish for the gold-silver ratio. All right, moving on. Today's data. Again, it's a big week, right? We'll do the World War III in a second. Today's data, U.S. JOLTS and earnings from Google and Microsoft are due. So U.S. JOLTS is an important jobs number, but it's less reliable than it used to be. It's typically been backwards for the last, year, but it's got to be watched. Google and Microsoft do big earnings week for the Mag 7. Google and Microsoft are today. The rest of the week, every day's got something very important, not extremely, but very important. Friday will be a big day. And of course, Wednesday, the Fed decision. So we've got a very big calendar week. News, notable headlines. Okay, none of this stuff seems to be very good geopolitically. U.S. Treasury expects to borrow U.S. dollar $760 billion in net marketable debt for the January to March period, which is down $55 billion from the October 23 estimate, and it expects to borrow $202 billion in the April-June period. Okay, so there's why the market rallied. Now, the April-June period, you look at that and you say it seems to be a low number, and my guess is, and it's an educated guess, but it's still a guess, is that, well, this is the time of year where you start to get tax receipts come in. So they assume that they're going to have tax receipts coming in and they'll be borrowing less. If you're going to have a surprise to the upside, that's the quarter you're going to have it. The reason I say that is because we had that last year. We had less revenues coming when we should have had there, and we had more coming later. I think California's money came in later, something like that. Geopolitically, there's no good news. U.S. President Biden asked advisors for options to respond that would deter any further attacks against U.S. forces. Basically, what he said is, what can we do about it? And the Pentagon's response options included striking Iranian personnel in Iraq and Syria or Iranian naval assets in Gulf waters. So a response in kind, but not an escalation. North Korea fired cruise missiles towards the sea off its west coast, according to South Korea's military. Chinese Foreign Minister Sun met with Ukraine's ambassador to China, yada, 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 and that's a bullshit one. But this year, this is World War III. So let me get to that. In October, having read a couple geopolitical books and continuing my education in the area, I drew a map. I took a map out and I put red and green fault lines. And I called those fault lines because that was where there was an ideological difference. That's how I looked at it, ideological differences. Another probably better, simpler way to look at it would be through the eyes of U.S. Western influence. So U.S. Western influence is in all these areas, the areas with the black arrows on this map, and it's being tested because as we pull in our overseas spending and start spending domestically, think about it, we're going to build back America. We're going to make America. These are all the things that Trump would be doing. We're going to be pulling money out of foreign affairs. And that means our influence is going to wane where it extends the most, kind of like the Roman Empire pulling out of, Great Britain. So in those areas where we're possibly thinking about pulling out, the local powers are going to test us. And that's what's been going on. They're testing us in Ukraine. However you want to look at the reasons or the proximate reasons for Russia invading Ukraine, fine. And I'm telling you, it's all happening because we are projecting weakness and we're being tested. You look at the Middle East, we're projecting weakness. Hamas did what they did. Israel said, well, we're pretty much going to be on our own in 10 years. We may as well make a stand now. And now you have a full-blown Middle Eastern regional conflict going on there. In China, you have the whole Taiwan. You have a double jeopardy there. You have the Taiwan event, which is going to come to a head. I don't know when, but it will be something that's the big enchilada. I don't know how you'd say enchilada in Chinese, but that would be the big enchilada. You also have North Korea and South Korea, which is probably going to happen before anything happens in Taiwan. What will happen in North Korea, South Korea, I don't know, but something will happen. And in Latin America, although it's not going to be a headline thing, we're pushing back in that area. So in each one of these areas, in each one of these rising BRICS areas, the U.S. is being tested. Okay? And, smartly tested. I think tactically, the BRICS are doing it right as an election's coming up. The Latin American one, this is completely my opinion and it's speculation. Brazil is aligned with the BRICS and Argentina is a mess. So we're colonizing Argentina. I think Malay is in line with U.S. interests. Spreading capitalism. You follow? In South America, it's like it's like an Iran-Contra, but it's no weapons, at least not yet. Anyway, so these are the areas, these are the fault lines that I thought were the most important. And in three of them, we have wars now. Well, yeah, the one in Africa there, that's not a U.S. problem. I put that arrow there. That's, I'm sure we have interest there, but that seems to be where France is getting their ass kicked, as parts of Africa are basically saying, hey, we're going to follow our BRICS brothers and we're going to assert our own rule in that area. Anyway, why am I so interested in this? Because when you have an ideological shift, when you have an old regime that's giving way to a new regime in fits and starts, like the U.S. is, like the West is, you have, what's the expression? That's where the monsters are. I'm not sure who said that. I think it was an Italian communist of all people, but he was talking about fascism. And I think the expression basically is, in between the old and the new is a transitionary period. And in that transitionary period, that's where the monsters are. Now, we don't see any monsters in Mussolini fashion yet. But what we do see is we see people being tested. It is my opinion that we are in World War III right now. And as long as there's no headline of World War III, as long as there's no gold screaming higher and oil is under $90, then the US can live with this changeover of power. So you have three fronts being actively fought right now. Call it four if you include Africa. You've got, well, actually, you've got two fronts being fought. You've got the Ukraine front, that's the Western front. You've got a Middle Eastern front right now in this war. And you've got things heating up in the Eastern front. And then you have an African front, kind of, is that where Patton's going to be? But that's the French, right? And in South America, you basically have us shoring up our defenses. This is World War III, guys. It's just happening slower. It's not going to happen all out. It's not going to happen simultaneously. It's not going to be a formal declaration of war. We didn't formally declare war in Vietnam, and we may not have even formally declared war in Korea. But the point is, they're not interested in deferring war. They're interested in deferring headlines. And if there are no headlines, then there is no war. And as long as there's no war and the masses are opiated, whether literally be with opiates of the hard or soft kind, or with an iPhone, or with, a stimulus check, that's what they're going to do, because they're not at war with, this is going to be an aggressive thing to say. They're at war with you. They're not at war with each other. Now, they may seem to be at war with each other. And certainly we are fighting across international lines. But they know what they want. And I say they, I'm going to say the BRICS. They want a new world order. We don't want to give it up. We also know that if we don't give it up, there will be a world war, an all-out world war. So we have agreed in our minds to back off slowly. The BRICS, on the other hand, they wanted to back off faster, but they know that nobody benefits if there's a world war. So the US is a little bit of a loose cannon. They're like, okay, they're the only country who's used nuclear weapons. We don't want to start a nuclear war, so we'll push lightly, but we will push. This is the global reset. This is World War III. We're in it. We're in it right now. And, it's not a headline. And believe me, the press has been co-opted. We don't want to make things worse than they are. That's why you're going to see the alternative press be so negative. And the alternative press isn't negative because they're just doomers. The alternative press, they are doomers, right? But the alternative press is doomers because the mainstream media is a bunch of Pollyanna, glad-handing bullshitters. That's it. We're in World War III. Now, do you want to buy gold because we're in World War III? Well, you don't think they're going to fix the gold market? Yeah, you want to buy gold, but you just don't expect it to go up $1 billion. The rest of this report, well, I'll do a quick rundown on gold. But look, you should read the CTA thing, okay? That's what you should read. You should read that. If you want to understand the flows, you should read the CTA thing. Now, the charts, do a quick run through the charts. Because I've been right, but wrong tactically. Okay, those lines don't help anything, right? How about this? All right, I drew three lines here, right? This is one line, this is another line, and this is the third line. Okay, so let's get rid of all of them. All right, so what you have is you have a market that's on this trend, whether you draw it down here or up there, I don't care. But you have a market that's on this trend. And until this trend is broken, you have to be bullish. Now, this area here has been, 1, 2, 3, 4, on a daily, it's probably, less, but this has become an area of contention that they smacked us down before. They smacked us down the second time. They smacked us down the third time. They smacked us down the fourth time. But this time we bounced right away. So I think this market is now fishing for stops. Not literally, it's a concept. The market is searching. Has it exhausted the selling here? And I think it has. And I think it takes a news item and this market will run. Now, so that's where I am. If the market, however, breaks this trend line, I think we're going back to here. Silver Silver, same idea, right? Silver and gold are now both on that whole trend line kick, right? They're united, they're back, they're working together. So the whole world is looking at an economic recovery situation right now. China is going to, in stages, do a bazooka, right? I'm not sure that it'll work, but that's what they're doing, right? The US is either going to ease rates, taper off of QT, or just, stay the course. Who knows? But everything's going fine. And we're in World War III. So have a great day, guys.